What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Harman EZ35 camera. This is a reusable disposable camera. So it basically has all of the functionality of your typical disposable camera, but you can open the back and put film in and out, and that's pretty much the only difference. So it is what's considered a toy camera, which according to Wikipedia is a extremely simple, cheap camera that's always fully functional and capable of taking photographs, though with optical aberrations caused by the limitations of the simple lenses. So it has a plastic lens. It doesn't have any kind of focus abilities, but I'll go over the specs in a second. Overall, this camera is extremely cheap feeling. It feels like slightly heavier than your average disposable camera, but virtually the same. Taking photographs is virtually the same process. It's just a little snap, and that's about it. And the photographs taken with this camera, I've got a few of them behind me on this strip here. I'll talk about those in a bit. The photographs taken with this camera fall into a genre of photography called lomography. Basically, lomography is a genre of photography that, according to Wikipedia, involves taking spontaneous photographs with minimal attention to technical details. So technical details being things like shutter speed and ISO and, you know, sharpness of film and trueness of lenses, purity of lenses, whatever you want to call it. All of that goes out the window in lomography. Essentially, lomographic images exploit the unpredictable nature of toy cameras for kind of artistic effect. And if you know the old school Instagram filters, you remember there's one called Lomo? Well, that's meant to imitate kind of a classic toy camera. And I think the specific toy camera that Lomo filter is imitating is the Diana camera. The kind of hallmarks of lomography involve lens distortions, light leaks, kind of optical aberrations, and different weird color fragments. Typically has like a vignetting around the corners or darkening in some parts of the photos, or just there's all kinds of just weird analog elements that get incorporated into lomography. But anyway, enough about lomography as a genre. Let's get into the specs of this camera. So the Harman EZ35 takes 35mm film, as you can assume. It also comes with a roll of Ilford HP-5, which is a monochromatic black and white film. That was the first roll that I shot with it. The camera sells for around $50 to $70, which honestly, that price point is pretty high given what it is. It is basically a disposable camera, and disposable cameras only cost about $17. So I don't know why it costs $70, probably just because the manufacturers know they can get that for it. But yeah, the price point is quite high. Specs. And I'm just reading from my computer here if you see me looking down. The lens is plastic, as I mentioned, and it is a 31mm lens, so that's quite a bit shorter than like the standard portrait lens. The aperture is permanently set to f11, which is much higher than I typically shoot, which kind of accounts for the fact that it doesn't focus at all. So having a much wider plane of focus is extremely beneficial to the camera. If it was set at like f1.8, you wouldn't be able to capture pictures of anything. They'd all be blurry. The shutter speed is permanently set at 1/100th of a second, which is extremely slow given the fact that I'm taking pictures in bright sunlight, but it compensates with the very high aperture. It's got a built-in flash, so you can turn this flash on and off. So right now it's in the, So right now it's off. Got the lens cap over it, and the lens cap has a shutter lock as well, so I can't take pictures while that lens cap is in the shut position. When I slide it open, now it is on, it is ready to take a photo. I could press the shutter and take a photo with it. And when I do one step further, like that, you might be able to hear it booting up, maybe not. But that is when it loads the flash, and now if I took a picture, the flash would fire. I have seen people online do fun things with the flash. There's a version of this kind of camera that is made by like Lomochrome, I think, and they have little like colored gels that you can put over the flash. I think that's really cute. I kind of want to modify this, so I've got like some little colored gel options on the flash. I think that'd be adorable. But that is one way to get interesting effects with this camera. But as you're about to see, there's like a whole bunch of different things that you can actually do given the limited functionality of this camera. And honestly, I've had a lot of fun with it. The kit that the camera comes in looks like this. It's pretty cute. I think I bought it for like $65 or something like that, so quite a bit. It came with one roll of this Ilford black and white film. I was kind of pissed when I found out that this was black and white. I'm dumb though, because it says black and white on it. I don't know why I assumed it was going to be color film, but I took like the first 10 pictures on the roll thinking that it was going to be in color, and then finding out later that it was in black and white when I was watching other reviews of the camera. The issue with this film that I found, and I'll show you some of the pictures from it in a second because they are really cool, but London Drugs, which is my go-to photo lab, they've got like really inexpensive pricing, they don't develop black and white film. So I had to go to a specialty lab, and it cost quite a bit more to develop this film than it would have had I been able to develop it at London Drugs. I've shot 2 rolls of film with this camera so far. I've shot the Lomochrome Purple, which cost $24 to develop, and that came with prints. And then I shot the Ilford HP-5, and this cost around $34 to develop, and that was with just digitals, no prints. So quite a bit more expensive. Like, that's like half the price of the camera just to develop this friggin' film. I was a little bit choked about that. Probably not going to shoot in black and white again anytime soon, even though I did get some cool results. So let's talk about my experience shooting with this camera, and I will show you some of the results that I got from shooting with this camera. At the time of filming this, I actually only just got the black and white roll back this morning, and I've had a chance to look through all the pictures, and some of them, like this one, turned out so good. Like, what? I don't know. I'm extremely proud of this photo. I think it looks great. There's also this one that's really cool. This one that I took of my partner where like his body just kind of like morphs into like this shadow. Very cool. The photos that I found turned out the best, both on the Lomochrome Purple and the Ilford film, were the ones that I took in extremely bright direct sunlight, which I guess is probably, you could probably have guessed that that would have been the case. The ones that I took facing the sun, where the subject was either silhouetted or just the sun is somehow interacting with the camera lens, did not turn out very well. They look kind of dirty. Because the lens is plastic, it's got these really kind of weird, dirty looking lens flares. They're not nice and beautiful like on a glass lens. So would not recommend taking photos anywhere near the direction of the sun. You mostly want to be with your back to the sun hitting the object in front of you. Another thing is that the photos that I took that were closer than like 10 feet to me wound up being pretty blurry. So I tried a bunch of pictures of different like textures of flowers and leaves and things like that, and those did not work. Like, they are all blurry, they're just duds. The photos that, yeah, were more than 10 feet turned out the best. Like buildings, the ones that I took of buildings are really cool. The ones that I took, like I took this one in the graveyard with the Lomochrome Purple, that's really cool. And they're way sharper when they're further away. Even with the perfectly arranged shots, so like best lighting conditions, like I think this one is like just a great example of like, the shot itself is not super interesting, but the technical side of things is perfect for this camera. It's far away, it's got direct light, it's really simple in terms of shadow and light and shadow balance. Even with like the most perfect shots, there is still this pincushion distortion. If you can just kind of imagine how a cushion looks and then how that would look if you like stretched an image over the cushion, that's kind of what we've got. So there's like this weird kind of striations, I guess, or whatever you'd call them, at the edges of the photo. Some of them, like the black and white ones that have these striations, it kind of adds this really spooky effect. And so there was 2 photos in particular that I took that just wound up looking super spooky, and I was really happy because I was kind of intending for them to wind up looking somewhat spooky, and the distortion of the lens really helps add to that effect. I didn't try shooting with this camera at night because I was pretty much 100% sure that it wouldn't work. I stand by that. I will try at some point, but I'm just gonna be wasting film, I think, to prove a point. But I did shoot a few in like the very early evening, so like while the sun was still setting, but we weren't getting like super direct light. Those pictures turned out looking kind of murky. Like, it looks like it's night in these photos, and it's really not. It's like, I don't know, 6 p.m. or something in summer, so nowhere near night. But just because the sun is not like overhead, bright and direct, the photos just look, yeah, kind of murky. Especially the one, like this one. I think this is still a cool shot, and I bet you if I like did some cool things to this in post, it would look great. But the background looks murky, and I kind of blame that on the color shift of the film as much as I do on the camera. Like, the two just do not interact very well together in low lighting conditions. I guess we probably could have predicted that that would happen. I think I did take a big risk shooting a really nice film on like a really not nice camera, but that's lomography for you. Like, I wanted to see what I could get. I wanted to see if the camera could kind of bring out some of the interesting elements of the film, and I think in a few of these shots, like the graveyard one that I mentioned, but also this one and this one, that worked really well. I should mention that none of the photos you're seeing in this video have been post-processed at all, so I haven't done anything to them in Photoshop. These are just the raw images that came out of the camera because I want to show you guys like exactly what it does without any kind of, you know, behind-the-scenes fandangling. So 3 little points of caution. One is that the photos that this takes are not sharp, which I'm sure you can probably imagine. They are not sharp at all, but I think that actually adds to the charm quite a bit. Some of the photos that I took wound up looking more like historical photographs, particularly this one that I took while I was camping. And I think that's super cool. Like, it looks like some kind of weird pioneer days artifact that you'd see in a museum, but I just took it with like a cheap camera. So that was cool. Another thing is that the lens, like, because the camera is smaller than my hands, a lot of the pictures I would catch myself like this, and I'd be like, oh, dang it. Like, you know? So there's a few that have like my little finger in front of the lens, and that's 100% my fault, but I'm used to my big camera where like there's no chance of my finger getting in front of the lens by accident, so half the time I wasn't even thinking. And you know, I take this camera out for every time I go running, and usually I'm just like so exhausted, I'm like, ah, whatever, like take a picture. And yeah, so my finger gets in front of the lens. And then the final caution is that this is kind of, you can assume this too, but the viewfinder is above the actual lens, and there's no like mirror system or anything like that to imitate what you're seeing through the actual lens. So just adjust, like whatever you're seeing through the viewfinder, just like kind of adjust that down like an inch. Oh, one more cool thing is that this camera actually captured motion really well. I didn't really try taking too many photographs of moving subjects, but there is this one shot by a waterfall, and like, that's good. Like, look at her hair, the detail in her hair, the detail in the waterfall. None of it is really like super motion blurred. You still have the kind of distortions around the edges, but overall it's a pretty cool look. Like, I don't know, that was surprising to me that it captured motion that well. Final thoughts, would I recommend this camera? Probably not. Like, it's quite expensive. If this was like a $20 camera, I would absolutely recommend it. Given the fact that it's a $60 camera, I don't know if it's worth the bang for your buck. Like, you can get a pretty decent film camera secondhand for $60. The reason why I bought this one is because I liked like the challenge. I liked the idea of working within like fixed parameters to try and create something, and that's what this does. Like, it gives you those fixed parameters, and that's honestly where I find my creativity flourishes the most, is when I have really strict parameters in which to explore. So if that kind of thing is for you and you really like experimenting creatively within fixed parameters, then this camera might really help to inspire your creative juices like it has for me. But if you are more of like a kind of person who likes free flow and do what you want, likes to have control, this is not going to be for you. And it is quite expensive, so I'm sure there's better alternatives anyways. Overall though, it is a good step up from disposable cameras. I had a fun disposable camera experiment. I really liked the way that they all came out, but I felt really bad about the impact on the environment, that this big chunk of hard plastic and whatever else is inside of it is just going into the landfill. So I'm glad that I got this so that I don't need, I've got my disposable camera itch scratched without being environmentally costly in a big way. I'm sure it is environmentally costly to shoot film anyways, but I don't want to think about that right now. One more reason why I would recommend this camera, similar to the Instax Mini, is that it is just super lightweight and portable. It's so plastic and hard bodied that like I don't really see how to damage it unless I'm intentionally like throwing it at something, which I'm not gonna do. But I feel like I can take it to the beach, or I can take it running, or like camping or whatever, and it can get knocked around or like be in the bottom of my bag, and it isn't gonna matter too much. Whereas if I had a nicer film camera, which I will in the near future, you just watch, I'm gonna get one really soon. But if I had a nicer film camera, I wouldn't want to take it on a run with me, right? Because if it's got lots of different settings, that means that it's got lots of different moving parts. And the more moving parts, the more opportunity there is for something to break. So this camera doesn't really seem like it's got a lot of moving parts at all. I think it's pretty much just like the little film roll that moves and the shutter, and then that's it. So the likelihood of any one of those things breaking seems extremely low. However, they are all plastic, so I mean that increases the likelihood somewhat. It must, right? But I don't know. So I'm still having a lot of fun with this camera. I'm looking forward to the results of the double exposure experiment. I keep wanting to call it the double slit experiment from like that electrons, protons, photons thing, but it's not the double slit experiment. It's the double exposure experiment. I'm excited for the results from that. If I get those results before I release this video, I might put some here, but if I don't, then I won't. So what is next? Next, after the double exposure experiment, I have the roll of Kono Monsoon that I'm gonna test out on this camera, and I'm gonna update you guys about that on Instagram. So if you check out my reels on Instagram, you will see all of my lovely film photography experiments and the results, and those are really fun. I just hit 4,000 views on a reel the other day. I don't wanna like brag or anything, but I'm basically famous at this point. Like, Harman, if you wanna sponsor my next video, you go ahead. I get a whole 60 views, so but yeah, so stay tuned. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go check me out, because I do have a lot of fun reels that kind of show behind the scenes and, you know, mini versions of the videos that I do here. Anyway, I hope that you found this review helpful. I hope that you found it interesting, that maybe you're inspired to go out and try film yourself now if you are a digital photographer at the moment like I am. If you liked this video, you want to see more, you're excited about the results of my double exposure experiment, then you can subscribe to this channel. You can also hit that like button. It really does help me out. It also makes me feel good inside to see that my videos have at least 5 likes on them. So that would be great. You can also hit that bell icon to be notified every single time I post. I post a new video every single Monday. Next week, I am going away, and so I'm pre-recording 2 videos, so hopefully both of them are fun quality. You're gonna like next week's. It's a vlog style video, something new, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, stay safe, stay sharp, and don't forget to keep shooting. Bye, guys.